My fingers smell weird. Oh, hi! Welcome to Force Track.
Oh my god!
The podcast where I'm being forced to watch Star Trek, and my co-host Mars is being forced to make a podcast. Say hi, Mars.
Hi, Mars.
Perfect.
Ain't I a stinker?
She's so silly.
Yeah.
And the episode we're talking about is, I didn't see it as it came on screen. Was it the Outpost?
Yeah, the last Outpost.
The last Outpost. And we have thoughts on it. This is where we get to meet the FERENGI. I've never heard of them.
Yeah, let's get into it. We talked about this ahead of time. I'm gonna describe the episode this time. We're gonna see what a pro is like in the seat.
Yeah, so everyone, if you're having trouble falling asleep, pull on your caps, get a candle, get in your favorite little nightgown.
Yeah, get ready, because here I go. I'm going to describe the episode. Yeah, this is the last episode. It's the first episode with FERENGI. So it starts off with... Oh, shit. Oh, yeah, okay, so the FERENGI steal something from a base. It's like an unmanned base, and they steal like a power generator. And so the crew's got to go get him, and they chase the FERENGI down. And then the FERENGI do some shit, and then the Enterprise does some shit, and now they're both stuck. And they're next to this planet, and they're like both like kind of like, you know, in this like locked looking at each other thing, and they've never seen the FERENGI, they don't know anything about him, so they're freaking out. And then and they eventually they like call up the FERENGI after a lot of problem solving. The FERENGI are like, leave us, like, let us go. And the Enterprise crew is like, interesting, they think we're doing it and we think they're doing it. And then they decide to go down to the planet as a team to like discover what's going on
with the FERENGI. They agree with the FERENGI to meet them there.
They talk to the FERENGI and they're like, hey, FERENGI, let's team up. This is gonna be our first joint mission. We're gonna go down to the planet and discover what's going on. And then the FERENGI,
they're collabing.
Yeah, they're collabing. And the FERENGI, they backstab them because the planet's all has weird energy signatures, so everybody teleports all weird, and they're all split up. And then the FERENGI decide they're gonna lie, and then they lie, and then
did they really?
Yeah, and then a fight ensues.
What?
Yeah, I know.
Oh my god.
They fight. And then a hologram, I think, shows up, who's a guy in old man makeup, and he says some riddles, and Riker says the right words, and then everyone's happy and they walk away together, and the FERENGI look like little kids compared to Riker. And that's the episode.
Like babies.
Pooping their diaper babies. That's it. I kept it short and sweet.
That was pretty good, honestly.
I was worried about...
A round of applause.
I was told to leave out the details, and I really wanted to talk about the details.
Well, see, my co-host here, as you know, she's the big Star Trek fan, and she could talk about it all day. And I know my viewers probably, or our viewers,
my viewers.
I know the viewers like me is what I was trying to say. Like, might just want to start skipping into the details. They want to get a brief overview and then like get into those details a little bit later. So thank you for that overview.
Yeah, so that's the episode. If you didn't watch it, now you have. You know what happened.
So Mars told me she took a lot of notes, which is very interesting because I didn't take a lot of notes and mentally, because this was a very straightforward episode. This might be one of the most straightforward episodes they've ever done.
It's the first. I think it's the first like episode that really is like representative of the show.
Really?
Going forward, yeah. I think this is the first time we're like, now we're in Star Trek.
I would like to mention beforehand, I have no clue what FERENGI is. And I've only heard jokes and memes. I have no clue what they look like, so I was very excited to meet one this episode. And the jump scare you get upon seeing the first FERENGI on a giant TV, gritting their teeth at Picard. Which we'll get into the details of that, like talk between Picard and the Ferengi later.
It's pretty abrupt, the reveal of what the Ferengi look like, because they talk about them for like a good 10 minutes, and then they're like, okay, now the Ferengi are like, you can't talk to us. We don't. It's against our culture to be on the camera. And then Picard's like, well, we should do it anyway. And he's like, okay, fine. And then the Ferengi's like, got a fucking zoomed in. He looks gigantic. He's in heaven. There's a fucking white background.
Just a giant white back. You know, maybe we can talk about it now. I think it was really hilarious about the fact that they were like, no, we aren't going to try our camera. You do it first. Like they're not being all shy about it and shit. Like you're doing a face reveal on Discord or something.
Yeah. No, you do your cam first.
They were being like all weird about it and shit. And then the Ferengi pops up, and I have seen those motherfuckers before. And I don't know if I should. If I told you this, Mars, but I've been kind of waiting to say this. The Ferengi are one of the few reasons, like I've seen their design before. They're one of the reasons why I've never wanted to watch a show. They're so beyond stupidly designed and ugly. It tortures me to see them on the screen. What's with the
They're my favorite species. I love the Ferengi.
Really?
I love them.
Wow.
I think they're awesome.
I think they're so ugly.
I was letting you talk shit about my favorite.
I mean, maybe my opinions will change, and maybe not, because I actually thought the Ferengi were going to be really intelligent. Like I was like, oh, okay, you know, their designs are completely stupid, but maybe they're very serious and like interesting to make up for it. No, I mean technically they are smart, but they're also not smart.
Okay, so yeah, we'll start talking about things in order, I think, because there's a lot to unpack with the Ferengi in this episode.
It's a lot to take in, because like they're acting dumb as fuck, but at the same time, like there's one scene. I don't know how early you want to get into it. I just kind of want to talk about them talking to Picard first.
Real fast, I'll touch on some of the funnier moments that I think is worth talking about. Okay. For example, so as a Star Trek fan, I know what the Ferengi are. So it's very funny. There's a part where the ship is like immobilized, and they still think the Ferengi are the ones who did it. Spoiler alert, it's not the Ferengi, it's something on the planet that's fucking them up. I don't know if I mentioned that. But there's something on the planet, and they don't know yet. Anyway, Worf is like so fucking upset by this.
He's really mad.
He literally goes like, immobilized by the damn Ferengi, like really under his breath. And then I think
he suggests attacking them. He's like, "There's no shame in losing in a good battle."
Yeah, but Worf is like, "Let's die in fire."
Like he just wants to fucking murder them.
Let's see. Yeah, I think that's pretty much the only thing that really happens.
Okay, you made it sound like there's going to be a lot.
I thought I had more. I was like, well, it's like, why is Deanna here? We kind of talked about that on the last episode. Like, how her range works is so crazy.
Yeah, I was surprised to find out that she could reach that far.
Yeah, and that's no small distance. That's like a couple miles.
Yeah. The thing I want to specifically talk about with the Ferengi is there's a part where so you know they're going through the like debate, and they're between Picard and the Ferengi, and they're like discussing like how they should deal with this, because they both think each other are like trying to fuck them over. So like, you know, let's meet on that planet, because we're kind of getting the suspicion that maybe it's something with that. And the Ferengi are like, yeah, that's cool with us, we'll meet you there. And then Picard's like, all right, we'll teleport you guys over. And they're like, we have teleporters. Like fucking so like shuts him down. He's like, they're so pissed that he even suggests that they're like below them and don't have teleporters, because they've been escaping them for so long. Like they have not been like detected, or it's only been like fucking rumors about Ferengi for quite a long time now. Oh my god, we totally forgot to talk about the Yankee stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say there is a whole section, because they are talking about like speaking of what you said, they're talking about the rumors. They're like, Picard specifically asks Data. He's like,
God.
Yeah, he's like,
Data.
he's like, Data, cross-reference a bunch of stuff, and I need you to like check and see what reports about the Ferengi. And Data's like, well, there have been many reports, and some of them are conflicting. And then Picard's like, well, fucking only the ones that are true then.
No, Riker says that.
Oh, Riker does. Yeah, that's right.
Riker pops in and he's like, well, check only the ones that don't conflict with each other.
Yeah, like fucking Data is a supercomputer. He's doing his best, and it's much better than you can do.
For real. And there's also kind of a weird scene that I think happens like a little short after, where Picard goes on a weird rant about how much he hates Americans.
Does he?
He does. He's
What?
like the brutish Americans or something.
No, that's right, because he's French, and we have to be reminded of that.
Yeah, I forget if he says something. I think he like talks up the French or something, or
There's
talks
a-
up the French.
There's a moment when Data is described. So there's the thing of the Yankee trader, and they talk about it there. Which, by the way, what an old man thing to call somebody. But there's like they're like describing what a Yankee trader is, and then they describe like something about Uncle Sam.
Oh,
And then Dwarf goes,
Yeah.
Uncle who? And then Data has to be like, well, something, something, something. And he describes the colors of the American flag as red, white, and blue. And then Picard immediately
Oh.
cuts him off. And he goes, and the French more appropriately used it as like
that's what I was talking about.
yeah, much more beautiful, like blue, white, and red.
Yeah, like shut the fuck up, Picard. He's like sucking his own flag's dick so hard. it's so like out of nowhere. I did not expect that from Picard to be like, the Americans foolishly used it on their flag. Like he was being so like, I don't know, just so weird about it, like so prancy, like ooh, we did it better.
Well, then also, fucking Picard says the thing about the flag, and the Data goes like, and this country used it this color, and then this country used it these colors. He like talking about all the countries that have red, white, and blue in their flags, and then he just goes like, and the British, and Picard immediately goes, enough, like cuts him off when he brings up the British.
Now, Picard, I can agree with you there.
I can respect
I
that.
say the same thing when I hear anybody mention the British. Cheers to that, brother.
I think, yeah, that was like a little weird exchange on the deck where everybody was kind of pissed off with everyone else. It's because the ship isn't like moving and they're irritated, but like, come on.
That scene was pretty hilarious, honestly. I kind of like those scenes where it's like they should be doing important stuff, but instead they're just fucking around, like talking about random shit to each other.
Well,
and like Data's like learning all this weird human culture stuff, and Picard is getting mad. And Riker is like having to stand by and make sure Picard doesn't flip his lid.
And then Riker's also like getting irritated.
Yeah, by Data. Like he's just doing his job.
Yeah. Well, it's funny too because I think they end up like trying to. They're like, okay, well, all of this isn't helpful, and they try to like talk to Geordi and see what Geordi's got, and then I forget who. Someone comes up with a plan. I think it's Riker somehow, where he's like, oh, can we basically like do this crazy thing with the ship where we go really slow and then really fast, and then Geordi has this really weird exchange where he goes like, he goes, I have it written down so I don't misquote it. Where's it? He goes, oh yeah, we drop it into first and we drop it into fifth. We come back fighting. Woo-wee!
Woo-wee! He says
Woo-wee!
it really loud and like really quick too.
It feels really forced.
It feels like it was written down in the script and he like went to go say it. He's like, I'm not actually saying this right. Like this is like there's probably a different way for I to say it. And the writer like came up to him and said, if you don't say it like this, I will punch you in the face.
No, what if it's like LeVar Burton was like reading the script and it just says like, sound excited. And they were like, he just thought of the first thing and he's like, well, okay, that's the test, right? That's the.
Yeah, that was weird. I can do something better. Give me another shot. Like we don't have time. Just let's go.
They're already packing up the cameras.
And now he's just known for his woo wee in that episode.
Woo wee.
Woo wee.
Yeah, he sounds like a Rick and Morty character.
Zoo wee mama. I think that's what you should have said.
Yeah, that would have been funny. See, they could have referenced something. It's a wasted opportunity, honestly.
Yeah, they could have referenced Diary of a Wimpy Kid and it would have been like awesome.
I think also Worf at just some point is just like, we should kill them, right? We should do that. And then everyone's like, no.
Yeah, there's a great scene of Picard like brings everyone into a room. He's like, "All right, everyone, give me your ideas. What are we thinking?" Like everyone gives their ideas and shit, and he's like, "Cool, whatever, I don't care." And then they all leave except for Riker, where Picard's like, "Hey, bestie, so like,
what do
what are
you
you
think?
thinking? Like, what do you think about all this?" And Riker's like, "I don't know."
Yeah.
I think he actually does have a plan, but I can't remember. I think it's the meet them thing or go fast.
Yeah, it's very funny how like he has like his whole squad. He's got the psychic, he's got the robot, he's got the warrior, he's got a security officer. But no, he just wants to talk to Riker.
Weird how he wants to talk to the other white dude in the room. Am I right?
Oh yeah. Also, before Picard talks to the Ferengi for the first time, he sends a message on all frequencies and all languages, and he just like
Oh,
he records this little like voicemail, and then after he's like, just like, oh, we want to get out of this situation too. State your terms. We want to help you. And then he looks back at the crew, and they all kind of go like, yeah, Captain, that was pretty good.
like he looks at them like, "What do you guys think? Nailed that one, huh?
Pretty cool.
I'm pretty cool, your old man, huh?"
Yeah.
It's so funny.
He also does speak French in this episode for one scene. He says merde, which I think is like basically being like damn.
It's kind of funny watching them like touch on that every now and then.
Where it's weird that they bring it up. They bring it up a lot in season 1 already. It's come up like 3 times already.
That's his thing, I guess. He's a Frenchie.
He's a Frenchie with a very British accent.
Like very thick.
And he's a French person who just pretty much loves Shakespeare and speaks in a British accent and is British and not French, but is French.
All right, let's move on. What next do we got on the notes?
Oh yeah. Then Deanna's way of getting in touch with the Ferengi is just being like, it's like a smartass. Like Picard's like, I can't fucking figure out how to get in contact with them. Like we sent them a message and they didn't reply, and like we don't get it. It's weird. And then she's just like, well, did you tell them anything they wanted to hear? Like, what the fuck does that mean? Yoo-hoo, Ferengi.
We have very big penises.
Yeah. Then Picard has to like basically send them like a business transaction, and it really doesn't matter. It kind of works.
He sends money to their Cash App, and they're like, "Okay, we can talk now."
That is the most Ferengi joke. I'm actually proud of you. That was pretty good.
Yeah, that was all intentional.
Listen, as someone who made a joke about Ferengi, not knowing anything about Ferengi society, that was spot on. There are totally Ferengi that would not fucking look at you if you didn't Cash App them first.
They would do good on OnlyFans.
Oh my god, yeah. OnlyFans in the world of Star Trek, the Ferengi are well.
They would
maybe not.
They would do penis ratings for certain prices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
What?
I don't know what that is. And
penis you don't know about penis ratings? Okay,
no.
So it's a thing that some sex workers or OnlyFans people do, where basically if you pay the sex worker money, you were allowed to send them a picture of your genitalia, specifically a penis, and they will rate your cock. Like, if you want a detailed explanation, I think it costs extra. If you want like a picture with it, it costs even more. If you just want like a number out of 10, that's like pretty cheap. I thought this was so funny when I found out about it, so I did research.
It's just extra funny, like the being like, I'm just imagining this in the context of Star Trek, and there being like a Ferengi where you pay a Ferengi and it is like, and the Ferengi's like a 7.
You know what I would like to imagine is either and I don't know which one is funnier. Maybe you can tell me which one's more lore accurate. But here are the two situations I'm thinking. One, where they actually take their time to look at the penis and give it a real judgment, like 6 out of 10. It has a good bend to it. It's not too big, but it does the job. Or B, where they have a fucking copy and paste statement they send to everyone that is 7 out of 10. Nice cut. Nice girth
cut.
and great length. Nothing special, but great job trimming, or just like something like that.
I
just
think
like they send that to everyone.
that one is if there was a FERENGI that their whole thing was that, yes, it would be a scam. It would probably be a scam. Like they would be like max. They would have no. Realistically, what a FERENGI would do is like have like a farm of people typing for them, and they would just be like, yeah, I pay you like one strip of latinum to do this, like to just do this for today.
They would be the people who'd be like, I want to make a cartoon. Send me money on GoFundMe, and I will get it made.
Yeah, they would.
Get it funded. They run away.
Yeah, you know what? That makes me really excited to get to DS9. There's so much of FERENGI culture in DS9 that's so good.
You know what? This conversation is making me like them just a little bit more.
They're what is it? Yankee traders.
They're just a couple Yankee traders who are penis raiding their way through the universe.
That's how you make it. Hey, you gotta make ends meet. You know, profit is everything.
Hey, I get it.
They actually have a religion that's based off making money, and I think it's very funny. Not funny,
too.
but
it's called the grind. I know you're not familiar with it, but I'm a firm believer.
It's their Bible. The grind. New King James.
You know what? Me and FERENGI, I think we're under the same Lord. Okay. Lord Benjamin.
What if one day
Benjamin Franklin, Hundy, you know
Benny,
what I'm saying?
My boss Benny.
Benny's our Lord.
I feel like what would be extra funny if one day we just like, I don't know, for a special episode we dress up. I think your character is perfectly shaped for a FERENGI, like ears, like taping them on.
Never say that to me ever again.
Really? You wouldn't want... What alien so far would you dress as if you had to cosplay an alien?
All the fucking aliens so far have been humans. They've all been just like most normal human-looking motherfuckers I've ever seen.
I've said this off screen. Technically, I'm a Beta Z.
A Betazoid?
Or Betazoid. Sorry, Beta Z is their planet.
Look at you getting all technical.
Getting technical. They're a very crucial member of the Federation, the Betazoids.
You know what? I mean, I haven't seen many, honestly. We have not seen that many in the first couple episodes. I would say probably, or at least ones that don't just look exactly like humans. I guess my pick would be Klingons. Klingons are pretty cool.
I can see being... It's sort of an interesting thing with Klingons, where there have been many cosplayers over time, and every single one of them has to come to terms with, do I do brownface today? And some of them, most of them, do. Probably not anymore. More recently, there's just people being like, I'm just going to be a Klingon, and I'm not going to darken my skin, because that's weird.
Yeah. Just a bit weird.
It's very weird. Very weird. Just be a Vulcan. Be a Vulcan cracker. Is that okay? Can I say that on this podcast? We were talking about rating wieners. It's true. We're talking about...
my God, Mars, you went too far saying cracker.
Telling someone a cracker.
Next honky.
Watch out.
Watch out. This might get us demonetized.
Yeah. I mean...
We're not getting anybody for this.
No! Yeah.
All right, we should actually probably talk about the episode, huh?
Yeah, we should get back
into it. We've been talking about rating penises for quite a while.
Yeah, we okay. Let's see. Getting us back on track. Let me read my notes, see if I can get us back on there.
We were somewhere... Let's talk about getting onto the planet, unless you have something before that.
There's a small moment that is funny. There's a moment when Picard is talking to the FERENGI face to face, and he thinks that the FERENGI are trapping them, and so he's like, "Hey, you know what? We're going to talk about working together here." And the FERENGI think his message means surrender, and they're ready to surrender because they think that he's controlling their engines right now. And then they say that to him. They're like, "Okay, what are your terms? Like, we'll surrender to you." And Picard does a double take and looks back at his crew like, "What the fuck?" And like,
what?
He like does like the turn off the audio like cut neck thing.
He said, "Cut the camera, dead ass."
Yeah, like he straight up's like, cut the camera, and then he talks to them for 2 seconds, and then everybody's like, yeah, they think we're doing it, and then he goes, okay, back on,
Unmute us.
unmute, turn cam back on.
I can imagine during those couple seconds, the FERENGI were like, "What the fuck happened to our connection?" Like punching the router.
Oh, there's also one more moment too before they go down on the planet's surface. Data is like explaining what's happening to their ships. And he's got the Chinese finger trap on one finger. And then he puts... Yeah, go for it.
Hold on. Yeah, this really needs to be set up because they just entered the meeting room to like talk about this shit. And he already just has it out of nowhere. He's never mentioned it. He's never talked about it. This wasn't in the scene before it. He just walks in holding it and like fucking around with it and putting his fingers in. And it just does not... Nobody makes note of it till like later on in the scene. Continue. Keep talking.
It's funny because Data's trying to explain a concept, and then his fingers are stuck, and he's like ignoring it, and then Picard's like, just fucking like, what's wrong? And he goes like, I seem to be stuck, sir. And he's just like, well, then get unstuck. And then Data's like, I can't. And then Picard like
sir.
Picard just walks up to him and smushes his fingers together and then takes one finger out, like really pissed off, and Data just goes, "Oh, thank you."
It's just so funny how I'm repeatedly told in the show infers that Picard is like from a utopian place where people are nice or whatever. At least I assume so. He's such an asshole. It's like so funny. He's like, "Well, just get unstuck." Like he can't even comprehend that your fingers could get stuck in a Chinese finger trap.
Everyone is so competent in the future. It's never happened.
And also, does Data really have nothing in a database about Chinese finger traps?
I fucking guess so. See, the implication is that he replicated it because on the deck, Riker mentions Sun Tzu and the like ancient Chinese tactician, I think, and then then like the next scene, Data has a finger trap. So I assume it's like either Data was just like, oh sure, I'll just go do some research on like ancient Chinese culture, and he just replicated the first thing he found or whatever.
Is that really supposed to be
That's from a writer? From a writer's perspective, I imagine they were just like, well, we talked about Sun Tzu, so we have to bring in a Chinese finger trap, I guess.
That is so completely beyond stupid. I do kind of like the weird implication that Data went to go search about Sun Tzu, and then as he was like searching around like I don't know, just ancient China or whatever, or just Chinese things in general, he found that and he's like, "Oh, that looks cool." He just went down a rabbit hole in Wikipedia and found that somehow, and then like, "Yeah, I'll play with that."
It's extra funny because he's not talking about anything to do with the finger trap. He's talking about the Takan Empire, the empire that built the planet, or like built the stuff on the planet that's like fucking up their ships.
Mm-hmm.
Which also crazy time figure he throws out. He says that the empire was destroyed 600,000 years ago.
Wow.
Who the fuck like how did? I mean, I guess it's hard to hide a destroyed empire. There's got to be shit everywhere, but damn, that's a long time.
Yeah, does that mean that people came by and did like tests on it and shit and wrote that down and left?
I imagine they just knew about
them.
Well, because they recognized like an icon or something of the Takan Empire. They figured it out. It was the Takan Empire somehow, and they like were like, yeah, we have all this history on them from like archaeologists or whatever.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Did the archaeologists like go there?
I don't think this planet in particular. It's like supposedly it was like a really huge empire. It was multiple planets, systems. Multiple systems.
Sorry, I'm so new to this.
I know. See, it's funny the things that I feel like. Oh, obviously, like I watched the same episode as you, and then I realized like I have so much more context for the universe that it's easier for me to accept information.
Also, for me, the weird contradictions of the show of what they have data on and what they don't have data on is so completely weird to me that I really need more context and data in my system to like be able to comprehend what Star Trek can understand and not understand.
it's one of those things. It's very nuanced. What is like meant to be taken seriously and what isn't, and I think it's funny like seeing somebody go up against it fresh.
But sometimes it feels so well thought out, and sometimes it's not thought out at all. Like all this shit that we know about, like all that, and the data just doesn't have any records about what the fuck a Chinese finger trap is.
Yeah, he's like, and or how to solve it. Like,
yeah, well, that's why I specifically mean if I'm assuming that if he read about it, that not there's not a lot of talk about Chinese finger traps. So unless he literally just saw an image and downloaded it through the replicator with no like context around it, I'm assuming he just skipped the very next line after the words, "This is a Chinese finger trap."
he got so excited.
You put your fingers together and then you pull it out. Like there's not much to say, you know.
Well, it's funny too. It's a finger trap. Like it's in the name. It's the first thing they tell you about it.
And he looks so confused that his fingers are trapped in it. I would have liked it. You know what would have been cute, honestly? Like, I think this is kind of fun to spitball how we would fix certain scenes or whatnot, because some of them do need fixing.
There's a lot.
I do think it would be fun if, like, Data, like, mentioned, like, yes, I completely omitted the like, how to solve it from my memory or something. I don't know how you
had to clear space.
I omitted it so I could see if I could, figure it out by what I know of humans and how they would go about it or something. I think that would be fun.
But, that would be extra funny if Data was like, if Data was like, or somebody gave it to him, like, and he like he did what you said. He's like intentionally like, okay, I'll take this as a test and see how human I am. And like tries to figure it out.
Not Google it immediately in his brain.
Maybe that's a real problem for him, where he's like he just like instantly knows things, and it's a real bummer for everyone else. Like
he spoils everyone's favorite show.
Yes, in the last episode, famously, and they're like, oh, God damn it, Data.
It was a real bummer when they were watching vintage movies and they watched The Sixth Sense and Data walked in.
Vintage movies. It's an ancient Earth movie, The Sixth Sense.
Ancient Earth movie, The Sixth Sense, featuring an ancient actor named Bruce Willis.
Who plays I don't know the girl's name in it, because she says it like once. What's her name?
In The Sixth Sense?
In The Sixth Sense, yeah. What's her name?
I've never seen it. All I know is
really?
the twist is that he's a ghost.
That's such a you movie. I thought you would have. Oh wait, I'm thinking of The Fifth Element.
You're thinking of Fifth Element? Mars, what do you think I've been talking about? What do you think the twist has been the entire time?
I honestly didn't even think about that.
The whole joke was that Data ruins it because everyone ruins the twist of the sex.
I know. I don't know why I didn't get that.
You thought I was talking about Fifth Element.
So I'm over here thinking like, oh yeah,
Data being a weirdo.
The Fifth Element, that movie where there's like, the taxi's flying, and then there's like the girl, and she's like, whoa, and all kinds of stuff. And then you're over here like thinking about the movie where, I guess it is spoiled already. I was going to spoil it again, but you already said the thing. Sorry to anyone who wanted to watch The Sixth Sense.
That was the whole joke, that everyone knows the end of The Sixth Sense.
Can I say this? I didn't. I watched it and the first time and I had no clue, and I was genuinely shocked. And I was probably 16 or 17. I was too old. I should have known.
I'm glad. This is especially funny knowing all the shit you've spoiled for yourself about everything else, that somehow you're the one person in the last maybe 10, 15 years who was able to watch Sixth Sense without knowing the ending.
For some small context.
You might actually be
the only person.
You might be one of the few people in the world who have access to TV and the internet and somehow didn't know that.
I don't know how that one slipped me by, because for context, for a lot of things, I will just watch like whole cutscenes or whole clips from movies if I think, I'm never going to watch that. And then I'll just watch the whole thing in clips and spoil a bunch of stuff for myself.
It's crazy for me, because like, why would you do that?
I did that for like Silicon Valley. I did that for Star Trek The Lower Decks.
I will never watch this, but I'll watch a 5-hour video on it.
I'll watch a 5-hour video.
That explains it all.
The Wolfenstein, the newest, both of the Wolfenstein, the most recent ones, not Youngblood, but the ones before it, same thing. I watched the whole, because I was like, I'll never be able to afford those games. And then they're like my favorite games, and I played them. I'm getting better every day. I've stopped doing that.
I'm glad Sixth Sense wasn't ruined for
Yeah,
you.
I actually.
Let's get back on topic.
I was gonna say I was genuinely surprised. Anyway,
I'm happy for you.
I could talk about it all day, but let's get down to the planet. There is this one small detail that I do want to point out that I thought was funny. When Picard is talking to the Ferengi, there's like one scene where the Ferengi and Picard are the only things on screen, and you can't see the ship. You can only see the white background of the Ferengi, so it looks like Picard is a tiny man standing on a desk looking up at a giant. And
Mars was laughing so hard at this.
I thought that was so funny, and nobody else did, and I was really bummed because I was like, that is so funny to imagine Picard as a little toy.
I think that's very adorable because that is such like baby logic of like he looks tiny, he looks like a little toy on the table, and the Ferengi looks like a big guy. And like everyone else is just like trying to listen to what the Ferengi is.
Well, at least you didn't.
Picard looks like a toy.
Jingle, jingle, here's your keys. Jingle, jingle.
Put the keys in front of the screen.
So anyway, they go down to the planet.
I did think it was funny, Mars, but I just did not. I did not find it as funny as you.
That's fine. I'm used to being the funniest person in the room.
Yeah.
So they end up going down to the planet with the Ferengi, and it's 3 Ferengi scientists, but nothing about them screams scientist.
They were supposed to be scientists?
Yeah, it's the science team, the Ferengi science team. Which, by the way, it's funny you give your science team electric whips.
Yeah, they look like pool noodles, by the way, for people who aren't going to watch the episode.
Yeah,
they just look like limp pool noodles.
Let's just real quick to set the scene, what the planet looks like. The crystal budget was insane for this episode.
Insanely cheap.
Yeah, there are giant styrofoam crystals everywhere.
This might be one of the worst sets so far, honestly.
Oh, get ready.
Well, yeah, I'm sure there are worse, but this one was pretty rough. Like, it definitely felt like, okay, we do not have a budget on this one, huh? Like, I like the idea and the world itself, but the execution made it feel very cheap. Like, even the crystals it looked like it was made out of glue.
Yeah, see, this was one of those episodes, especially when you see the crystals. I was like trying to remember. I was like, okay, people saw this on crappy TVs, over broadcast or on like VHS for like the first time. I have to remember, it was probably a little fuzzy. It probably looked a little better.
Yeah, that did a lot of service.
Because, oh my god, there's sometimes on the show when you're watching it in like high definition film scans, you can like see like screws holding panels down and all kinds of stuff that's like you're not supposed to be able to like glue leaking from a part of the set. But yeah, this planet, it's like pink skies, desert rocks everywhere, and crystals all over the place, and lightning.
Like cheese crystals.
Cheese crystals everywhere. And it opens up with like everybody's like scattered, like little ants across the field, and Riker has to find them all. And Riker
specifically is yelling out for Data.
No, he doesn't yell out for Data.
I'm pretty sure he does.
Are you talking about
Data?
No, when he goes to the cliff.
I don't know.
There's
a part where he's yelling Data. I'm like almost 100%.
Oh, I believe you. I know the part that I'm thinking of is there's a part where he goes up on a big cliff and he yells out to just over the cliff. He goes, "Anybody!"
Well, yeah, he does that first, and then he starts like yelling out for names. He goes like, Data!
Which I think he finds Data just chilling on top of some crystals.
Yeah, Data's like checking out some crystals and shit. He's having a blast. And then they team up and go find Geordi, and he's being hung upside down.
Oh, shit. And we should mention, too, back on the Enterprise, Picard is back up there. So the away team who went down to the planet is just for reference. We got Data, Riker, Worf, and Yar, and Geordi. Everyone, all 5 of those guys are on the planet.
Is Yar there?
Yeah, Yar is there. But you literally, it's so funny. You forget she's there. That when she shows up to save everybody, it's like
I
what?
thought that was Worf.
No, that was Yar.
Okay, well,
they look similar. I get it.
Well, no, it's just like more of like it could literally be interchangeable.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. Back on the Enterprise though. Picard had to stay, and the fucking power is out, and the ship is everyone is freezing to death slowly.
Yeah,
that's like,
and they did not pack any like overclothes, and their blankets are made of silk.
which by the way, there's families on the Enterprise. I love that none of the families brought their own shit with them. Implication at least of them all like cowering and kind of like trying to stay warm. It's like, you guys didn't bring any blankets from home.
I guess they just assumed, oh, it's the Enterprise, it's gonna. There's no reason that we're gonna freeze to death soon.
Imagine going on a ship with your kids and then it's just like, oh yeah, it's gonna be safe. The Federation's, they're not like getting into any wars, and we're just an exploration vessel. It's cool. And then just like, it's our third week and we're freezing to death.
Maybe you can explain this a little bit more because I'm still confused on it.
Mm-hmm.
Why are the families there? Why are they just tagging along? This has been very dangerous.
So I don't know when they explicitly state this, but it's, I guess this in the original show they do say this, so I can just say it. Starfleet is not a military organization, despite what they would seem. They're all about exploration, and so like they think to themselves, oh, this ship is never going to be in combat, so we can have like families and stuff aboard, because we're not sending them into combat situations.
Very, very famously so far have disproved that almost in all the series.
Yeah, I mean, episode 1, a giant energy monster almost kills everyone because Q is like shooting them with missiles or whatever, and so they have to
frequently. Quite the opposite of safety has been happening. Yeah. It has been almost constant death in every episode.
I mean, how many times have they separated the saucer section? It's happened like once already.
Why can't they just say, okay, you know what? Our exploration is not safe. Let's just send these guys home, so we're not risking fucking thousands of lives. Like, I get it was probably something that happened in like the original series, and they just wanted to honor that and keep that as part of the world. Okay, well, either way, the guy worked on the first series, didn't he?
Yeah. Gene Roddenberry and a lot of the writers.
The second series, like, I'm gonna have this, and it makes no sense.
It's super weird. It's super weird that there's families on board, but it is interesting because that means there's like a school and like,
there's a mall.
There's a shopping center. It's a whole. We could get into what the Enterprise has. There's all kinds of things. There's cetacean ops, which is dolphins. I won't even get into it.
Well, see, here's the thing. And this is what it is about Star Trek to me. Like, this is because this show is at its core kind of about me trying to understand this show. And this is one of the hard things for me to get past in a show like this, is a show that's so dedicated in lore and world building, and yet there's no good reason why there are thousands of families on the Enterprise on the regular. It's one of those things that we just have to accept that it's just part of the show.
Well, it's a pretty sweet deal.
But yeah, there's explanation for why FERENGI have wrinkled foreheads and orange skin, and that I can't criticize at all. That's all part of that. But the families, no, that's totally fine.
Well, it's imagine, would anyone join Starfleet if they had to be millions of light years away from their families? Well, you want to bring your families into the danger with you.
That's actually, I would not want my family to be in constant danger of being murdered at all times.
I just imagine how traumatized a kid who grew up on a Starfleet ship would be.
It'd be terrible. Every other week, like, we're either freezing to death, or there's a beam shot at us, we're disconnected, or there's Starfleet people who like look like they want to pummel me to death.
Yeah, or just like fucking monsters are on the ship for no reason. There's all kinds of shit that can go wrong.
Anyway, we've kind of gone off the topic about it.
I love how before this episode we were like, okay, we can keep this one short.
Well, we haven't really been talking about the episode. We've been talking about the weird implications of the world,
which is my favorite thing about Star Trek.
And I kind of want to cut to a part that I personally want to talk about.
Yeah, go for it.
So as they're being rescued by ER, which I could have sworn it was Worf, but I guess not. ER comes and saves them, and everyone starts fighting. Everyone starts like getting into a fist fight, and and Data grabs one of the Ferengi and just by one hand just pulls him up in the sky while Riker is fighting for his life. And Data is like, they seem quite strong. And he looks over at Riker. He's like, ah! Like punching like everyone he can. And Data makes like the funniest face, like, huh, what a fucking pussy. Like he looked disgusted by Riker. Like he had such a superiority complex in that moment. It was actually really hilarious.
Yeah, it's like the fucking I forget what it specifically is. It's like they like they're like fighting everyone. Or what okay, so what I was trying to say is that like it's like Riker is like, I got this one, and he's like on the Ferengi's like on Riker's shoulders, like beating the shit out of him. And then he cold clocks too, is the funniest part. Like the Ferengi punches him and he goes down. And that's the funniest thing to imagine. And I think also Worf has like two of them on him. And Worf is also trying to fight them, and they're like piggybacking on him. It doesn't look like it looks like a really realistic fight, I think. Because everyone's just kind of grabbing each other.
Yeah, sure.
Well, you know, like no one's throwing a real punch. Everyone's struggling and it's awkward. And I think something happens where they get like electrocuted or zapped or something. I don't know. Data falls over like a toy. That's what I remember. He like puts his arms out like a Minecraft zombie and falls over.
I don't remember, so I can't confirm nor deny.
Must have forgot. Anyway,
Mars, you know people can't hear you. Cut the camera to up close shots, right?
Yeah, they can't. I forgot about that part. Yeah, no, I cut to up close shots. Yeah, if you're one of the fucking weirdos, I'm calling you a weirdo. No, you're not a weirdo. If you're one of the people
weirdo who listens to a podcast instead of watching the entire thing.
No, I was going to say the opposite, actually. I was going to say if you're one of the weirdos who's intently watching us talk.
I thought you were inferring that the people who are only listening were the weirdos.
No.
Okay.
I wouldn't do that.
Is there any other notes?
Yeah. There's a couple things we can talk about. There's the big fight scene between everybody, and then this like hologram dude shows up in this big cool light show, and he's basically just like, "Hey, you want to join the Takan Empire?" And then they're like, Riker's like, "Yeah, your empire actually fucking died." And then the Ferengi are like, "No, they're lying." Yeah, the Ferengi are scumbags, by the way, in this episode.
Yeah, the Ferengi are trying to make like the humans look bad and shit.
Human deception. It is their way of the human to deceive.
They're like, the humans knocked us out and tied us up. Isn't that fucked up?
You're so smart, hologram.
Also, like, the fucking the old man who's like walking with Riker, they literally look like that one like meme picture of philosophers like waxing philosophy while talking.
And Riker's got his hands behind his back, yeah.
Exactly. Like they look so deep in thought, like discussing humanity and shit, while the Ferengi are acting like chimpanzees, like running around them, jumping on things.
Literally in like that squat position, like screech, all but screeching, really.
They're like saying weird shit and like talking about how dumb humans are, and somehow they have teleporting. I don't know.
Well, I think no, I that's a bit of Star Trek lore that you learn in DS9, but it is funny how the Ferengi acquired their spacefaring abilities.
I'm sure it was probably like conning or some weird shit.
I think they purchased it.
That makes more sense than them actually inventing shit. They kind of like make it sound like of course we're smart enough to have our own teleporting and shit.
How do we do
which
this?
Makes it kind of funny to know that no, they just bought it, which I should have inferred.
Well, I also forgot to mention, this is also where we're introduced to a little bit of Ferengi lore. That is kind of like, it's interesting. Where like, for example, Ferengi women are not clothed, and they aren't allowed to like be in society.
That's what I wanted to talk about with this episode too. So in the previous episode, if people remember, I kind of rated that one a little bit low because of specifically this episode right after it, and why I'm kind of putting this one a bit low too is we get 2 episodes in a row where like it's a part of the alien culture, just I guess fucking hate women for some reason, and to like be like, your women are part of your team and they're clothed. What perverts? They're clothed so that you can undress them. What freaks?
Yeah, I think they like go, the perversion of it all, or something. Like they're really like getting poetic about how grossed out they are by Yar.
And it's just so weird because it's like, you're telling me how many alien races there are in the universe, and like so far a huge chunk of them have just always treated women like terribly or seen them as lesser. It's such a weird thing. Like, you can do anything with the alien races in the show, and that's what you do.
Well, it's funny that it's 2 in a row of, oh, these aliens are sexist and flawed.
Yeah, that's why I kind of didn't. I feel like the pacing of season 1, if they move shit around, could have made it a bit better and maybe made each of those particular episodes a bit higher. But having them front to back, really, just I was like tired of it. I was like, okay, here we go again. Is this going to be every episode where they meet an alien and they're like immediately sexist and shit? Like, I don't know. It's getting a little tiring at this point. So hopefully we don't see much of it.
Well, it's like, it's also like,
you're gonna hate the next episode.
When we hate the next
episode. Lights.
Well, it's like the fucking legitimately the show.
No, that joke was funny. Go back to it.
Okay, lay it on.
Just made up an alien race called Incelites, and you did not process it. You did not. Did not join me in my little world for a second, where there's an alien race called Incelites.
You're 100% right, though. I totally did not process that joke. That's the strongest call out you've ever like done for me.
I know you, Mars, at this point. I know when you're so busy thinking about the thing you want to talk about, you're not even listening to me, and you're just waiting for a moment of space to jump in and talk about the thing that you want to talk about.
That's 100% true.
So I had to pump the brakes. We had to go back to my hilarious joke, Incelites. Now you may continue. Thank you for taking the time to discuss Incelites with me.
Thank you for being a friend who understands how my brain works. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Let's see. I wanted to
wrapping this up.
Yeah, I want to touch on a few of my notes for this final part. Worf got to fight, which is good for him.
Seemed very happy.
Yeah, Worf is like. Also, there's a very funny part where so the dude, the hologram, his name is Portal, and he's got this green and black gamer cloak that he's wearing, and he's got a little.
It looks like a painting of a wizard.
It looks like an airbrushed picture of a wizard, but if he was in Star Trek. And then he's like, okay, well, I'm gonna do a test, and it's gonna involve combat. And then Worf is immediately like, and he's like, okay, Riker, I'm gonna fight you. And then Worf is like, no, me, please. he interrupts.
Such a horror for fighting.
Well, like, think about it. He has no opportunity to fight, and then they're like, oh, we need somebody to do a fight, and then it's just immediately Riker, and Worf's like punching the ground.
Like, fucking, I wish the funniest shit ever would have been if, like, he was like, Riker, fight me, and then it just cut to Worf punching one of those crystals clean in half.
Worf like gets back on the Enterprise, and he like goes to the holodeck, and he just goes like, bar 50 men fight. Like,
he loads up one of those anger rooms where it's just like glass and shit, and he has a bat, and he gets to just break as much shit as he wants.
Well, because it's funny, you can just describe stuff to the holodeck, so he's probably like, I need a room with, let's say, 50 glass plates with Riker's face on them.
A heavy bat. With nails. Don't forget the nails.
About 5 feet long.
5 feet long.
Make it
scream out in pain with like Riker's voice when I hit it.
Yes. And you know what, for fun, to give me a flamethrower for when I'm done with the smashing.
I would just want to burn it all.
Yeah, and then also Portal does that thing where he does like it's like sped up footage of a guy swinging his portal's got like a spear with a knife on it, and he spins his spear around and he stops right next to Riker's face, and Riker's calm as a cucumber because Portal quoted Sun Tzu, and so Riker knew to be calm and not react. Which, what a gamble.
Yeah, I have to say that whole scene was stupid of him like doing riddles on Riker and shit.
Yeah,
it felt so like Riker was like, I'm enlightened. I've seen Rick and Morty. Test anything on me.
That's literally what it is. That's how I imagine people who think they're smarter than other people see the world. Where like the rest of us are just the Ferengi.
And these are like fucking like baby tests that he's doing of like, I'm going to kill you, JK. I didn't kill you, and you didn't flinch.
You passed my test.
Cool, and your cock is big, and I will let you live.
So tell me more about your Sun Tzu. Like there's so much he could. Like he's like sucking Riker's like proverbial dick about knowing about conflict, I guess.
And Riker's so excited, like flexing. He's like, "Yes, I've done some reading in my time." Like he's read the Wikipedia article.
And then I think the episode pretty much ends right there, except for one last scene where I forget if I think it's Geordi or just I think it's Geordi. For some reason, Geordi and Data are at ops, and just Data kind of looks over and he sees Geordi has gotten his fingers also stuck in the finger trap, and he can't hit the go button on the like from the ship to engage the drives. And so Data just kind of looks over and like it's a close up of the guy's finger, the Geordi like having a hard time moving his fingers, and the Data just kind of like goes boop and presses the button for him, and the episode ends.
Like doesn't help him with it.
It's such a funny intro.
I did remember one thing before that.
Oh no, go for it.
I'd like to mention. So this is kind of a progression of people who've been keeping along and been remembering plot details we've talked about. But Dr. Crusher, aka Beverly, has they like wake up because all the people almost freeze to death.
Oh yeah,
they're like all cool and shit. And Beverly like wakes up. I don't know if her head's like on Picard's shoulder or they're really close.
Yeah.
And like Beverly's like, Jean-Luc, and then she's like, I mean Picard. And they're really milking this like Beverly Picard thing, and I'm very curious to see where that's going, because I think it's very funny that they're kind of doing this thing where Picard is like kind of becoming a father mentor to Wesley, and then also he so badly wants to bang Beverly.
Yeah, it's not really like clearly stated the relationship of their dynamic. Like it's kind of implied that like Riker or not the Riker that like Picard knew their Wesley's dad, but then also it's like
kind of implied in that one episode when they like first talk about it.
It's weird. It's such a weird dynamic that they have, and where like he's like Wesley's pseudo dad. He has to act like
kind
it.
Of funny. It's kind of funny, honestly. I kind of like that. He's like, yeah, it's so sad that your husband and my friend died. Anyways, you want to like go to Olive Garden? It's what he would have wanted.
Yeah, to quote The Naked Now, that episode where he gets right up in her face. Not now, Beverly.
Not now, Beverly. You address me as medical officer. Anyways, let's do the review and future thoughts, huh?
Yeah. Let's get into it. I'll state mine real quick.
Yep.
I think this is the first good episode, I think, where it's like it's just good all the way through. It's got Armin Shimmerman, who he's like one of the first Ferengi actors. He is like his acting shapes a lot of what the Ferengi are for the rest of the show. And he's very conflicted about it himself. I've heard, but I think it's very cool to see him as the like one of the first Ferengi and how he acts and stuff. And I think overall, like the episode itself is like it feels very Star Trek. It feels very like it's such a fun space romp. It's a good self-contained story, and it's not weird or dumb. And I can follow it all the way through, and it feels great. I had a great time with this episode. If I had to give it a number, it's probably like a 7 out of 10. Going up one from my usual 6 out of 10. See, I know my 10 out of 10 episodes.
I'm sorry, you just gave it such praise for so long. Like, this one was not weird. This one was very good, other than the other ones that we've been watching. Those other ones have been dumb and weird and didn't make sense. And this one was very good, and one of the first real ones. And those ones were 6 out of 10. This one's going to be a 7 out of 10. You went up by 1 point? Really?
I don't want to be mean to the other ones.
You could have gave those ones lower scores.
Okay, retroactively, all my 6s are now 4s.
Okay, that makes more sense.
And this is a 6. So we're
this
back.
One's a 6? What?
Well, okay, this is a 7. This holds at 7.
Holy smokes!
This holds at 7.
Do you like the show?
I love this show.
You're giving this episode like 4 out of 10, 6 out of 10.
I'm willing to be critical. You know.
Okay, that's fair.
My
review of this episode is, as you know, people might know from the last episode, I kind of said I was going to score this one a bit lower because it was kind of weird. It's funny that you say this one's not weird because I find it weird, but kind of just as weird as all the other ones. But I will say it was a lot more on theme, more focused than the other ones. The other ones were kind of like all over the place a bit. So I like that. The FERENGI were all right. They're okay fun. The wizard shit was dumb. I didn't really like that guy.
Yeah, I noticed that didn't get really, like, that part didn't get retained.
Yeah, I mean, I remembered it, but I just thought the conversation was so stupid that it was like, really? This is like the meeting of minds, Riker and this wizard with
And
very
Portal.
Sun Tzu. Well, that's what I mean by wizard, is Portal. Isn't that the same guy?
Yeah, it's Portal.
Yeah.
I just think it's funny his name is Portal. Like, there's been a lot of funny names of just guys in old people makeup.
Yeah, and I don't know. I thought this one was okay. I would give it 5 out of 10.
You scared to give it a 6 out of 10?
No, I'm not. I'm scared to give it a 6 out of 10. I mean, it was okay, you know.
I think that's a good way to. I can't wait because this is season 1. So
yeah. Well, it just interests me because you're like, this is the first real episode. So I'm curious to see how I'm going to feel about the rest.
Yeah, I think the rest of the show, it only gets better from here.
And I'll say my future thoughts is I really want Q to come back. He was so fun. I want more of him. And I hope it's soon.
Yeah, I hope so too.
And also, FERENGI are definitely going to make a return.
Sorry, I thought you had more.
That's it. No, that's all my thoughts.
I really took that thinks of the next thing she says thing to heart. I really wanted to give you a chance.
No, you know what? I think it is a good time for it, though, Mars.
To
hit that music, because I'm going to say the thing.
Oh, shit.
I want to say it. I want to get it going.
Oh, shit. Wait, hold on.
Where is it?
Fuck.
Come on, why is it taking this long?
You have no idea. All right.
Oh my god, do you have like 500? Use folders, lady.
Don't tell me what to do. But I'll tell you what to do.
Set those phasers to goodbye.
Yeah! Here we go.
Yeah.